that's what we do through this data mining model, which resides in the Oracle database. We look at the previous year's history of attendees and the sessions they have attended, build a data mining model, and as the attendees register and they fill a few profile questions, we pull their last year's information of what sessions they actually attended, look at the abstracts for the current year conference and come up with a recommendation. So the recommendations are pushed out to the mobile device. Let's say you've got packet of information this morning recommending sessions for this morning. If you deviated and you attended other set of sessions, then we update that in near real time to know that your probably your preference is changing. Maybe you are now getting more interested in MySQL or Fusion Middleware, and the next set of recommendations will be updated according to your session attendance history. These session recommendations, along with their rankings, are pushed out to the smart device or Google Calendar, and you can choose to be given one recommendation for a time slot or multiple recommendations ranked by the degree of fit to your profile. Apart from that, we use business intelligence so that organizers can use that during the back-end processes, such as tracking registrations across the country, and if they want to increase publicity of the conference in a certain area because they are seeing maybe less registration or more registration, they can tailor their advertising to attract more attendees, and all that can be pushed down to the smart devices. And we know our organizers are often interested in information. They want a dashboard, and they want to be able to drill down to the dashboard, so that can be done from here. And this way it can be interactive, give them more information to better manage the conference.
So part of the nuts and bolts of this architecture is dealing with what we call the representational state transfer architecture, or REST architecture. And it's basically a set of network design principles and a way to address the data. And since it's a design philosophy, not a set of blueprints, highly scalable. So, and Twitter uses this concept now, and basically the way it's done is it sweeps from one of the resources and pushes it out to everywhere else. And that's what's used on the web now, and we're following that technology that's currently been used for many years on the web. So for the communications layer, the recipe, we've chosen XML. XML is used predominantly anywhere from security systems down to sending out information to a printer and printing out a document. We have data identification. SQL Developer is the tool, and XML Spy is another tool to use for XML, or as you know, it's a extensible markup language, which means we can design data structures as we need them, fields, for all the homogeneous systems that we're going to integrate with. Some of the significant structures in XML that we're using is what we have actually now for this conference: the track, the session type, the session, the product line, and the user groups. And of course, we've included all the user groups. And in the future, if there are more user groups that want to join this Collaborate conference, we can scale to them too. Here's a typical structure drawn in XSD, or an XML schema definition, showing exactly what you would use currently in the conference scheduling plan. I've lifted it from there and mapped it to an XSD to show you that we can scale this to our particular application, listing everything from the session date, the session title, all the way to the track and the user group. And here is how a sample XML document would appear. We have a session going on, session 312. Speaker's name is Craig. So We're actually showing a real application of how this would be presented in an XML document. Thank you.
So a little more details about how we can interact with Google Calendars. When a session plan would be published and accepted for the conference, there would be an item created on a Google Calendar. It would be a public Google Calendar that our various attendees could subscribe to. That would therefore then show up on their calendar at the appropriate point in time. And by using the copy to my own calendar routine, I could have that show up in a much shorter calendar for me of just the sessions that I've chosen to do. And as you can see, as I've highlighted or unhighlighted the various tracks, the map of the available sessions gets simpler yet. So why does our recipe rock? Basically, it meets and exceeds all the requirements of our that we were given 30 days ago. So we have balanced nutrition. We have everything we need. It has lower development costs. We are offering, through Rad Tools, gourmet food at fast food prices. And it's easier to use. It's more fun. Using Facebook is a whole lot more fun than any application that I've ever written. So it's tasty. And it's ready to eat. It truly works. You can go right now to teamshefu.info. It's password protected. The username is Team Shefu, and the password is demo. You can actually use our application, and we've got time, so we're going to do just that. This is teamshefu.info. It redirects to an apex.oracle.com website. I'm logging in. Team Shefu, password demo, and our homepage, the little note here says if you're logged in to play with our app, feel free to create sessions, change time slots, do whatever you want to do. All the delete buttons have been disabled just so that you don't sabotage me. Please don't put any bad words. Okay. But basically, our network is divided up, as much as our slideshow has been done. I doubt we would use this in the actual application, but to keep with the restaurant theme, we have the administrative portion, which contains all of the dictionary master detail tables to be able to define not just the Collaborate conference, but the XYZ 2012 conference. And this will illustrate that concept of how we'll keep costs down by selecting the conference up front. Obviously, in production, we would only be able to select the conference that we were authorized to use. But for the demonstration purposes, I've now changed it to Collaborate, and you notice that it's Collaborate 2001 and has the sessions that are actually real for this conference, at least the few that we entered. I'll show you mine. This is my session. It's abstract. The papers, my picture should come up there in a few minutes. And we can actually download my PowerPoint or that button should allow you to download. Oh, that's excellent. Download is here. So I can actually download my PowerPoint and use it that way. So it actually works for uploads and downloads. And my picture finally came in. So this is the admin thing. Play with it at your leisure. It is fully functional to the extent that it goes. Back to the home page for a minute. What else is out here? An example of how quality control might work with ratings. This uses a similar report to the sessions report, but also includes a chart of average ratings. And if I go in here and I take my session and I give it a low rating, I'm just going to give it a 1. I might talk about strengths and weaknesses and so forth, and then post my review, you'll notice that the graph and the average has adjusted. So now, I forget what I was before. I don't know how many reviews are in here, but the averages are calculated in real In addition to that, we have a link for the social networking at the bar. This is going to take you to a couple Twitter elements that will show us the postings that contain the words Collaborate 11 or Oracle Shefu. And those will scroll as people post, okay? So that's actually functional and live. If you go and tweet Oracle Shefu, your tweet's going to show up in this application right now. The other things on here are not fully developed, but they are useful in terms of background information. Your server suggests is a white paper on how to use business intelligence to gather statistics about a conference, okay? Very specific. Of course, it's Oracle World they're talking about, but it could be any conference. The session scheduler is a link to the Google Calendar, so you can try out the Google Calendar stuff. And this particular link is a link to our PowerPoint presentation. So if you've forgotten anything or review our PowerPoint presentation, by clicking on that logo of the chef, it'll take you to a PDF version of our presentation so that you can review the slides at your leisure. And we have another 4 minutes or so for questions. So go for it. What do you want to know? Everyone hungry?
Don't know where to get it once.
No, truly, there is quite a bit of challenges. Having been involved in conference committees for a number of years and on the board and so forth, I recognize many of the difficulties in running a conference. Typically, it's because you have to have a little piece of somebody's software here and a little spreadsheet there and so forth. What we've tried to do is wrap that all up into one. But in order to keep the cost down, we built in both the multi-client aspect of it so that we can sell it to as many conferences as would be willing to buy it. And secondly, we have the social networking leveraged heavily so that we don't anticipate having to write another calendar that would compete with Google Calendars, as an example. I think there's great promise for proximity-based ratings and things like that, using Bluetooth, for instance. The iPhone 4 operating system, when it came out, enables you to communicate with any phone within 30 feet, assuming both sides give permission. So why shouldn't we do our reviews that way? Things like that might make some of the paper go away and some of the cost of distributing and collecting that paper go away. So that's our vision.
Yeah. Another feature is 2 years ago when we came here, a lot of people complained about the distances they had to travel. People picked the VI session and another VI session, not realizing one was an IOUG and a Quest, and they were literally a mile apart. So we have built the location or distance between the rooms as a factor in the recommendations. So it's easy to pick a session in your area of interest from another user group, not realizing the physical distance between them. And we will develop walking maps between one session to another. For instance, if you have to go to lunch room, if you put this session on your agenda, it can give you a walking map to the next session.
Technology is there to do all these things. All we need now is your enthusiasm and your influence of the judges so that we win this competition.
And we use this system for the next collab.
We thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure I appreciate your listening to us. And we hope that we've given you some ideas and whet your appetite, so to speak, for what is possible with Oracle. Thank you very much.